Good morning to all the students of Political Science, Class 12, once again here. Students, we were doing the fourth chapter, that is the alternative centers of power, and we had already finished our three parts, and today we will be doing the fourth part. But in those three parts, I told you about the European Union, its formation, and how it was giving a challenge or a tough fight to US, which was the sole power at that particular period of time. And then we studied about ASEAN, which was a competition in front of US in terms of military, security, economically, politically, in all the spheres. And today we are going to study the third challenge, or we can say the alternative center of power, which is the third one of our book, The Rise of Chinese Economy here. So I shall be starting it. I shall be giving you some introduction and some history about it, and later on I will tell you how slowly and gradually China has been one of the most important and influencing strong economic policy in the current scenario. So starting here, the first topic is that the rise of the Chinese economy. This is the introduction part of this particular topic. China emerged as the fastest growing economy since economic reforms. China was growing as fast as it is today after 1978. There were economic reform means changes in the economic system or the pattern or the methodology of a particular country. They made few changes and which started in 1978. After that, the Chinese economy started to grow very fast, to be projected, and the people economists have projected to overtake the US as the world's largest economy. And economists and the people have assumed that it may surpass US economy in by 2040. So, but in the current scenario, if you talk about China, with the speed it's going on, it is said that maybe by 2030 or after 5 or 10 years, it will surpass or cross the economy of US, and it will become the largest and the strongest economy in the world, which will be influencing the whole world arena towards itself. But along with it, with the economic strength of what is the strength? Why China has suddenly increased its economy to such an extent that it can give a challenge to US, which is the largest economy and the most powerful country in the world. So what were its strength of China? Are these: population, landmass, resources, regional location, political influence. So these 4-5 things are the important parts for the economical growth of China. So talking of population, as we know, China is the most populous country in all around the world. It has a maximum population, but this population, I can say, this is not a quantitative population. There are two type of population: qualitative population and qualitative population. If I talk of China, this is qualitative population. They all work for their economical growth. If I talk of like countries, developing countries like India, we can say the population in India is still quantitative, because one person in a family is working and rest 2, 3 or 4 are dependent on a person. But in China, everyone is working for their livelihood. So population plays a very important role in the strength and growth of economy of China. The landmass, it's a huge landmass. If you see the map of China or the world map, you will see that China has a huge landmass which is of great importance to it, and the neighboring countries by it has a good relations with this to increase its economy. Then resources, when it has a landmass which is very large, it has lot of resources, and resources can be natural resources and human resources. In both the resources, China is very rich, which is adding to the strength of its economy. Now, regional location, if you see the location of China, it is very good. If you see has boundaries with sea also, it has rivers also, deserts also, it has different geographical conditions, good conditions for agriculture, for industries. So it has good regional location. Its political influence, when it is increasing economy, it has a good political influence as well. So this is the introduction part of China, that how after 1978 it has been able to grow into a strong economy which can challenge US in future, which has been projected around 2040. But what were the reasons? I have told you here. There are some economic strength given here. These are the reasons for its fast economy. Moving forward, So here, after independence of People Republic of China came into being after the Communist Revolution. Now we are moving forward to this topic, that how and slowly and gradually the Chinese has become such a important and influential economy in the world. So first step is after this introduction. From here we will be studying the story of Chinese economy, how slowly and gradually it became so important. So this China was independence in 1949, followed by a communist revolution under the leadership of Mao. Under the leadership of Mao, there was a communist revolution. According to this communist revolution, after the independence of People Republic of China, means China followed a system which was Soviet model. Soviet models mean which was followed by USSR. The ideology of USSR was followed by China also after its independence in 1949. So we have already studied a lot about Soviet model. It is a model or ideology in which all the resources and or the property are owned by and controlled by the state. And there is no privatization of a thing. And moving forward, step by step I'm moving. So in 1949 I have talked about the independence through communist revolution, and they were following a system of communist nation. Assuring employment. So when they were following a Soviet model, it means everyone was having employment. As we had also studied about USSR, employment was there, social welfare was there, education for all, and better health for all, as China began to use its own resources, because China was using its own resources, as I have already told, because of its regional location, land mass, population, political influence. It was able to utilize its own resources and grow its Chinese economy at a rate of 5 to 6%. So with the system of Soviet model, which was followed by China, they were using their own economy, and they were providing proper employment, social welfare, education to all, better health conditions, and with that they were increasing their economy 5 to 6%. So this was a good increase in the economy for the time being. So moving forward, what happens? China snapped means to move away or cut off. China cut off or moved away all its ties, whatever were the ties and relations or connection with all the capitalist countries. So with the Western world and with all the capitalist countries, China had stopped or ended its all ties in the world around and depended on its own resources. Means China did not had any relation with the outside world, especially with the Western world, and they did not have any connection with the capitalist countries, because China was following a socialist model here. So what happened then, this situation? It created a model of state-owned heavy industries sectors from the capital accumulated from the agriculture. See this point carefully. Here, all the heavy industries like iron and steel industries or construction industries, all such industries were controlled and influenced by the state. In China, these heavy industries were looked after by the state, but from where these industries got the money or the capital to put on, it's written here, from the capital accumulated, all the capital which was collected and accumulated from agricultural surplus. What were all the capital which was collected from the surplus of agriculture was invested on these heavy industries by the state of China. So as it was short of foreign exchange, here China, as it was not dealing with the outside world, it was managing its own resources, it has a closed economy, it did not have any foreign relations with any country, so it was short of foreign exchange. It has no dollars for import or exports, because now China was requiring some technology, some machines for the surplus or increase in the production of agriculture, so that when there will be a profit out of agriculture, they will put that money or capital for the advancement or for the development of heavy industries. But for that they needed to buy some technology and machines, and for buying those technology and machines they needed foreign exchange, but they did not have any foreign exchange because it had closed economy. So it decided to substitute imports by domestic goods. So they were importing the technology, but in place of that technology they were using a barter system, we can say, like all the domestic goods which China was producing in their industries or small factories, with the help of their local available resources, they were giving them back those resources and importing the technology. So they were substituting imports by the domestic goods which were they producing in their own country. So moving forward, employment and social welfare was assured to all its citizens in the USSR. Same in China also. As we have studied, all our employment was there, social welfare was there, but according to the country or the state, everything was managed by the Chinese state. So the problem arose here for the China, as till now China was following a Soviet system in which all the people were given employment, education, good lifestyle, but all the resources were controlled by the state, as we know, which is done mostly by ideology of communalism. But here, and the economy was also growing in 5 to 6%, it was good, but now the economy grew at a respectable rate of 5 to 6%, but an annual population, but along with that increase in the economy of 5 to 6%, there was an increase in the annual population growth rate, that is 2 to 3%, meant that economic growth rate was insufficient. It means if there was a 5 to 6% increase in this economic resources, but at the same time population was also equally increasing, so we can say that this rate of 5 to 6 economic growth was insufficient to fulfill the needs and demands of the population of China, because along with the increase in the economy, the population was growing very fast, so it was very difficult for the China to fulfill the needs and demands of its population. So the problems arose further, as previously China was making a good agricultural product, and all the surplus of agricultural and all the capital collected from agriculture was put on the heavy industries to give output. But now there was insufficient agriculture or the grains or the crops to fulfill the needs of its own people. Here agriculture production was not sufficient to generate a surplus for the industry. Now agriculture was unable to generate surplus or extra capital for industries. Now what will happen to the industries, because industries were running because of the extra surplus capital of agriculture, but now this agriculture was not sufficient for the people because the population was growing at a very fast rate. So international trade was minimal, and is at this particular time there was no international trade, no business, no commerce with any of the other countries outside India, because China, because China had a closed economy. It means it had a iron curtain, we can say, because iron, which other world could not knew what was going in China, because it was not anyway connected to the whole world. International trade was minimal, and per capita income was very low. Per capita income of the people in that country was very low. So we can say there was a situation of stagnation. The economy was stagnant, the population was increasing, there were food grains were less to support the huge population of China. So the situation in China was going worse to worst. At this time, the changes were much needed in the economic stage for the China. So we can say here that there was an imbalance between the resources and the population growth which was going on in China at this particular moment after their independence. Previously they were doing good with the Soviet system, but now the problems arose because of the fast growing population, and the resources or agriculture available to support the population was insufficient now, and they were having very poor trade and commerce relation with the other world countries or the Western countries or the capitalist countries. So it was a time when the changes were required by the Chinese for its economic policies. So the next topic is changes in the China's economic policies. So first of all, here in 1970s, the changes which started taking place in the China economy or Chinese economy is 1970s. Chinese leadership took major policy decisions. Here we can say China's leadership was in the very safe hands. They were very intelligent and they thought about it, and they have taken very important steps to improve the economy of China and move forward. So here China re-established political and economic isolation. Here political and economic isolation means previously China had no political or economic relations with any of the countries around the world, whether we talk of Western world or we talk of Eastern world. So here they re-established this association and this relationship, and they broke this isolation, with major policy decision. Now they took some policy decision in 1970s. These were, and the first was India-US relations. Now China started making relations with US to improve its economy. Now it has started making trade and commerce and other businesses with US to improve its economy in 19. So we can say China-US relation establishment was based in 1972. So first change which took place in the Chinese economy was 1972. Next is in 1973, very next year of it, in 1973, this person, Premier Zhou Enlai, this is the name of a person. He in 1973 proposed for modernization. He proposed the 4 methods for the improvement or for the development of the economy of China here. So what were those 3-4 sectors which were important to improve the economy of any country, I would say. So the China now here focused on the 4 modernization according to Premier Zhou Enlai in 1973. It was agriculture. They wanted to look after agriculture, industry, science and technology, and the last one is military. So these 4 were the modernization where China now focused to improve its economy. So here you can see this diagram. Roughly I have made this diagram. Suppose this is China. Here I have written here China. This, as we know, China is the largest producer and consumer of bicycles. So we have shown the example by this cycle, as this is China. The front wheel, you can say, is a political system, and this rear wheel, it is a economic system. If this cycle as a China is running as a country, so the front wheel is political system. So the political system in China is run according to communalism, or it's a communist nation. But on the rear wheel, all the economic activities which are taking place, all the economic policies are according to the capitalist countries. So in economy they are following the capitalism, in political system they are following the communalism. So if we talk of China, we can say China follows both the system of communalism and capitalism. So it has a very smart ideological, we can say, advancement in politics. As if we compare it with USSR was completely following a ideology of this communalism, and when it wanted a transition from I think from communalism to capitalism, there was a shock therapy. They could not control the events which went wrong. But here China acted very smart. Their political system was communalism and their economic system was following capitalism. So here we can say this logo is of the communalism, as followed by USSR also, same was followed by China also. And this dollar sign we as well very know, this is related to import exports as capitalism. So here moving forward in this particular topic of changes in the China economic policies, further we are moving, and the next point is here. In 1978, remember this date, in 1978, Deng Xiaoping announced the open door policy. So what do you mean by open door policy? Previously, China was following a closed economy, we can say. It was involved in its own internal matters to improve its economy, but now it wanted to make relation with the outside world to improve its economy. It wanted a business, trade and commerce with the outside world, all the Western countries, all the communist countries, all the capitalist countries, to improve its economy. So now in 1978, finally, Deng Xiaoping announced the open door policy and economic reforms in China. So along with this economic door policy, there will be a lot of changes coming up in China related to its economy for its development. Along with this, as I'm seeing, you can see the different dates here. We had started with 1970s. In 1972, there was a relation with China and US. Then I told about 1973, where 4 modernization were accepted, like agriculture, industry, science and technology, and military. In 1978, I have told you about open door policy. And now in 1982, what happened? Privatization of agriculture. Previously, all the agricultural land was owned and controlled by the state, as it was a communist system. So, but now there was a privatization of agriculture in 1982, and just after that, it was followed by privatization of industries in 1998. Privatization means there was personal ownership, there was privatization of all the resources related to agriculture and industry. The whole control of state was removed and it was put into private hands for the better profit. So the next step in the new economic policies put forward by China next was trade barriers were eliminated in the special. There were some particular specific regions or areas fixed. They were called special economic zones, or we can say SEZs, where foreign investors, all the trade barriers like tax, excise duties, or different barriers which are put for the other countries to invest in our country, there were no barriers for such type for the foreign. All outside countries could come and invest their money and start a business or entrepreneurship there. So economic zones, special economic zones. And the next point is, here China followed its own path in introducing a market economy. Here China has made its own way. If you see, China has thought of its strategy, proper methodology to open its economy. It did not suddenly open all the economy and made its transition from a socialist country into a capitalist, but slowly and gradually, step by step, China moved forward. And that is why it's written here, the Chinese did not go for shock therapy. Shock therapy, I have already told you when we were talking about the disintegration of USSR, we had discussed about this shock therapy. This is a painful transition of communism into social capitalist country, capitalist model of economy, but opened their economy step by. But China here did not move for the shock therapy. They opened their economy step by step. That is why we are seeing so many years in 1972, then here 1973, 78, 1982, 98. Slowly and gradually they kept on changing and moving forward to improve the economy of China, and that is why it is one of the most successful and powerful economy in the current scenario. So the next topic coming up is consequences of new economic policies. So consequently, what were the output, what were the outcomes or impact of these economic policies which we have read in 1972 China-US relation. Then we read about modernization, modernization like agriculture, industry, science and technology. Then we studied about the open door policy in 1978, privatization of agriculture and privatization of industry in 1982 and 1998, and formation of special economic zones. So after all this, what was the outcome? What were the consequences of these new economic policies? We are going to study here point by point. First point is, privatization of agriculture led to the remarkable rise in agriculture production. Yes, there was a privatization. There was no control of state on the agriculture. So all the private owners had a good production of agriculture, which raised the income of rural areas or the farmers which were busy in the agricultural activities, because as we know, China is primarily a agricultural country. So they gave a very good production and there was a high increase in the privatization under agriculture. High personal saving, when there was a good agricultural production, there was a good economic collection, good capital, there was a personal saving also of the people, led to an exponent growth of rural industries. So there were small rural industries or factories which will run in the rural areas. When the people of rural areas were having some capital with them because of the high savings, now they could run these rural industries properly and grow its economy. And because of the creation of SEZ, what is SEZ? Special economic zones, where there was no trade barriers for any countries and foreign countries could come and invest here, led to the phenomenal rise in foreign trade. Because of this, the lot of foreign trade increases in China. Previously, it did not had any foreign trade with any countries, but now they had a good foreign trade. China became the most favored destination for FDI, foreign direct investment. Now here foreign countries came and they directly invested their money in opening up different factories or starting some businesses, which led to the increase of economy of China also. So it became one of the best destination point. China had large foreign exchange reserves, which allowed it to make big investments in other countries. Now, as there were FDIs, other countries were coming to China. There were SEZ, that is special economic zones, which were attracting and influencing the other good economical countries to come and invest in China. So now the China has collected large foreign exchange with them, and now it can easily invest for its other policies and programs in other country. And finally, when China was growing with such a speed and good ratio of economic advancement, in 2001, China became a member of World Trade Organization. So this is one of the most important point here. In 2001, with the help of its new economic policies which China had put forward since 1972 till 2000, it had now become, in 2001 it has become a member of World Trade Organization here. So after going through all the economical policies and new programs of China which are put forward to improve the economy after 1949, how it gradually started following a Soviet system, then they found some problem when there was a population growth and there were insufficient resource ratio between population and people. So they opted new economic policies, and with the help of those new economic policies, China was able to improve its economy, that it could challenge the best economy in the world, that is US, and it is assumed that it will surpass US economy and will be the best and the most strongest economical country in the world. But there were some limitations of China which were putting up a challenge for the growth of economy in China. Like, although it is a best economical country now, we can see in terms of economy, unemployment has risen in China. There is a lot of unemployment now, nearly 10 million people looking for jobs. So many people are looking for job. Female employment condition, here the condition of female is not up to the mark. It is compared to the condition of women which was in Europe in the 18th and the 19th century. Environmental degradation, lot of economical and development activities are going on, so there is lot of environmental degradation problems are going on because of overuse of resources, natural resources, lot of corruption. When there is growth of economy, there is privatization, there comes lot of corruption. Okay. And the last is inequality between rich and poor. Lot of inequalities have now been increasing there. Previously it was a socialist country. There were a lot of equality in terms of, we can say, lifestyle, education, job opportunities. But now with the increasing economy, that there is a class division, I can say, between rich and poor. So this we come to an end of this particular topic, which was an alternative center for which could challenge US, and how we saw how it can challenge US in terms of economy here. So in the next part I will be doing the next topic. Till then, thank you.